Hi everybody, this is Jiten from Zero, and you're listening to Retail Reimagined, the podcast where we'll talk to CEOs, CMOs, CTOs from the retail industry and uncover the future of retail. So tune into the podcast and learn what's happening in the retail industry. Hi folks, and welcome to Retail Reimagined. I do hope you're enjoying the set of podcasts that we've brought out so far. And if there's any particular topic or someone you'd like to listen to, please leave a note, comment, and I shall try my best to make that happen. Retail Reimagined is where I get to speak to CXOs from the retail world and get them to speak about their journeys, experiences, and even share a few business secrets if that's possible. And today, I'm going to be over to your hospital and I'm going across to speak to a seasoned CRM and loyalty professional who comes with loads of experience. As he mentioned to me during our initial call, he is working on, quote, digital transformation initiatives through the implementation of CRM and loyalty programs, close quote. And I would like to ask him more about this, but before that, let me introduce him to you. So please welcome Dilpreet Singh, Head of CRM, Loyalty and Customer Analytics, the ITC Hotels. Dilpreet, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you here as my guest today. And the emphasis is on guest. And thank you for making the time.
Thanks, JB. Thanks for having me.
You know, just before the call, you sent me a brief profile about yourself. And I thought I'll read it out, but I'll not do justice to it. So if we just walk us through your journey and kind of give us your story.
Sure. So my journey has been quite fruitful. It has been a roller coaster journey also, because ever since I've started my career, which was almost 17 years back, I got this opportunity to work across varied industries and with some of the top brands in the area of customer analytics, loyalty, CRM, and customer experience also. So I've also kind of evolved over the period of time with the kind of skill sets which I've adopted, I've learned, and then I've applied to my workplace also, both in personal and professional capacity. So to start with, I started off my career with one of the pioneers of the credit card industry, American Express, the account service vertical. Then I moved to the analytics and quality vertical because I was having inclination towards challenging the status quo. Where if something is happening, then there can be a way where we are able to kind of do it in a better way and optimize the thing. So worked on certain critical Six Sigma projects also, which led to enhancement of the processes and ultimately bringing down the cost also. So the cost optimization is something which every organization is aiming for. Post that, I moved to one of the giants of the QSR industry, Domino's, where I would say it really helped me to work in a very scaled environment with over 30 million customer records at that point of time, giving me a lot of flexibility to play around with the data and the marketing. So I tested a lot of things. I failed also, but then just kind of evolved from those, let's say, experimentations which were done. And it gives a very good, I would say, understanding of the industry also and my domain also. Then I would say the real change or the twist which actually came to my professional journey was moving to the hospitality, because it really changed my perspective towards the CRM and the retention domain when I figured out that customers can be retained and engaged without giving the discount. And in this industry, with the Oberoi Group or the IDC hotels, I actually learned that experience is something which everyone is expecting. And as a responsible brand, you need to understand the customer and enable the engagement through relevance. Because again, when you're talking about increasing the frequency, which ultimately every brand wants to do, it is easy to do that by giving discount, by giving value-added services, by giving some of the freebies, something like that. But adding some relevance, reaching out to your consumer in a more scientific manner, in a more relevant manner, so that they also know that the brand knows me well and I want to engage with them. I would say, in a nutshell, this has been my journey so far.
Super. You mentioned a very interesting point, right? Your journey started off with Amex, and you're right. I think they kind of pioneered the credit card business, literally. Yeah. And especially analytics and CRM in that space. Yeah. Was your journey into analytics CRM, did you plan it out? Was it just serendipity?
I would say it was very impulsive and spontaneous, because again, I had this knack of kind of challenging the status quo and understanding in terms of how things work, and getting into, say, at a very micro level to understand if something is being done in a particular way, can there be something new which we can add to that. Because of that, like, the analytics plays a very important role in terms of how things are being done. If you want to change it, what are some of the drivers, what are some of the parameters which needs to be worked upon, be it the customer marketing, be it the or loyalty or anything pertaining to the customer analytics, which would be there. Like I had those kind of things, and like again, initially, say something decade back or 15 years back, I used to work on small things on Excel, then like that changed into the MS Access, then the SQL, and then the other analytics tools, which have actually kind of evolved over the period of time. But yeah, one of the personality traits which I'm having, which actually kind of helped me going in this direction to enhance my passion into my profession.
Super. And in all these years, you would have seen a lot of change, right? Especially from the loyalty ecosystem, right? And I'm glad you mentioned Excel and SQL and so on and so forth, right? So what have you really noticed across all these years, the change, especially on the change? What has shifted? What has changed?
So talking specifically about the loyalty, so how it has actually changed over time. I believe like loyalty has actually evolved from a time when like loyalty was all about the punch cards which used to be there, like whether it is retail, QSR, or any other industry which was there. So the customers were handed over. In fact, in certain cases, employees is also the case. So both employees and the customers were handed over these punch cards, which they just have to kind of swipe to get the points back into their kitty. Again, in terms of the construct of the loyalty program, which has been there, it is a kind of a typical where you spend more, you earn more, like basis certain stipulated criteria, which would be there. You would be elevated to different tiers. Based on that, your benefits and your privileges would also increase. So I would say, yeah, from punch cards environment, we have actually moved to the customer relationship management or the CRM, which today more or less every organization or brand is doing.
Right.
Finally, the transition which has happened is to the customer experience. So the core has remained the same, which is to put the customer at the center.
Correct.
Then make your customer feel special by providing him or her the benefits and the great seamless experience which everyone is looking forward to. So today also, like when we talk about the customer experience, like again, there is a kind of a misconception in terms of who actually owns the customer experience. So as per my experience and my belief, I definitely want to convey this point that the onus of providing the seamless customer experience actually lies with everyone. Any person who is working for the organization, irrespective of which department or vertical they work for, the owner is on them to provide the seamless customer experience. And the reason for that is that at the end of the day, the customer is not interacting with a department or the vertical, but an organization or a brand. If the experience is hampered at any point of time, at any stage, whether it's, I would say, the transactional stage or the interaction stage, which is there, the brand will lose the customer. And no service recovery can revive the broken relationship and the experience which customer had.
But I'm glad you kind of said who owns CX, because I think, CX means customer experience. And I'm glad you highlighted that, because that sometimes becomes a point of contention at times, right? Is it, especially from a department perspective, should somebody from the marketing own it? Should somebody from the operations own it? Should somebody from whichever other department?
True.
Yeah.
I think like everyone would be able to relate it to also. But when I'm talking about the owner lies on the department and the person who is engaged associated with the brand. Because if you just take a very simple example of e-commerce, which today like almost every person would be using, whether for retail, for food, or for anything. Today, we just take a very simple scenario of browsing product on any of the website. Like suppose I'm talking about a Levi's jeans. So today, if I want to take a Levi's jeans and I go to any of the e-com giants like Amazon, Myntra, Flipkart, and any of them, but for some reason I'm not able to find that. So in that case, the website and the product team, they are at the fault, and the onus lies with them. So you were able to find the product, you were promised that the delivery will be done within 5 days, but it got delayed to 7 to 8 days. In that case, the logistics is something which has actually kind of hampered the experience. You contacted the contact center, you didn't get the post-call resolution. That is the customer services, the department, due to which your customer experience got hampered. In this case, like it's a kind of a loop which the brand has to make sure is closed so that the seamless experience can be provided.
Super. I understood now. Got it. Right. So which brings me to my next question. And I think I'll break it up into two parts. Yeah. One is, obviously, I would really want to know, and I'm sure a lot of listeners do, Over the last few years, you've kind of, I think, seen the hospitality industry pre and post pandemic, right? Do you think something has changed? Nothing has changed? Has it changed? If something has changed, has it been quite drastic? Yeah.
So again, barring, I would say, few operational things which got changed, which I'll just be covering at the later stage. But yeah, today when I'm talking about the hospitality industry, so it is unlike the other industries, it is completely experience driven. It is not a product driven industry which is there. And in case the experience is hampered, so no service recovery will be able to bring back that experience which the person intended to have. So whenever you are there at a hotel, whether for business purpose or leisure purpose, what you want is the experience which is there.
Right.
So today, when I'm talking about the hospitality, I believe the essence of the hospitality is service. And in case you want to take it to the next level, which is the personalized service, you need to work on two great levers, which is data and technology. So traditionally, if I just talk about maybe some 7, 8 years back, so hospitality industry was only measuring the effectiveness at a very macro level. So if I'm saying that today, if I want to understand how my business is performing, so I will simply be saying, oh, it's like what is the total ARR, which is the average room rent, into the number of guests who have come. If I just do that, so that is a total revenue. So marketing as a business or as a department was just operating on a kind of a spray and pray mechanism, which intended to have more people, which will giving you the more business. So more people you are able to reach out to, they will be giving you more business.
Right.
Unfortunately, that is a kind of a wrong assumption, which was there. So the micro lens, which it should have been there, was missing at that point. So in terms of understanding who my customer are, where they are coming from, who is a profitable customer, who I want to chase out or to get additional business, which campaign is working, which is not working, what are some of the areas where every department has to work. So that was not there. So ultimately, I would say the unified view and the holistic picture, which a brand needs to see, was missing. And energies which were every department or every person was putting in, so they were actually going into the wrong direction. So this was the case a decade back or so, but yeah, like slowly, more or less, each brand in the hospitality industry, they have also realized the need of that. How we worked on that, how we were able to kind of crack it in the hospitality vertical. So we actually worked on a 4-box framework. So starting with the first, which was know your guest. Because ultimately, like everything is, as I told you, that if you want to do a seamless experience and a personalized service, you need to kind of work on the data which is available. So know your guest actually works on the complete data capture mechanism in terms of what are the prominent data sources through which I will be able to get the data. Once the data is there, you need to clean that data. You need to kind of work on the identity resolution problem, which most of the hospitality industry brands are going through. The standardization which needs to be there. Once that thing is there, then the second box is mine for insights, which actually works on now the data is there. You just need to segment the data, profile the data. What are some of the variables which you are having for your guest? Basis that you need to do the scoring in terms of books. Like these are the people who are, I would say, more prone to stay on a weekend. These are the people who would be spending on F&B. These are the people who would be spending on laundry, something like that.
Right.
Once that thing is there, then the third part is the build relevance. So you have the data, you have kind of done the complete segmentation and the profiling. The third part is the build relevance, because like without relevance, everything would not lead to the outcome which you desire for. In terms of building the relevance, like again, the focus has to be on all the key performance indicators, should be there, the personalization, the customer journey mapping, which you will be doing, the campaign management. The last important aspect to that is the monetizing the relationship, which where actually the end result is the loyalty, which would be there. So when you have mapped the customer engagement, map the customer journey also, like it will lead to enhance retention, increase the share of wallet, and more referrals, which you will be getting from your loyal customer. So there you can say, okay, like this is something which we intended to do, and now we have monetized the relationship, which was there.
Interesting point, and I would like to quiz you a little more on this, the 4-box framework. I think you kind of beautifully put it, right? And explained it. Do you think something like this, which the talent industry is using, do you think something like this would really fit in well with the retail industry? I know there is some similarity between hospitality and retailing, that it all starts with the customer. But do you think a framework like this would really help in the retail space?
See, I believe it would definitely help, because as I said, that irrespective of the industry, irrespective of the brand, at the end of the day, you are catering to end customer. So today, when I'm talking about the customer, so each and every individual is driven by certain incentive. For certain people, it might be the commercial aspect, which is like the pricing aspect, which is there. For certain people, it would be the quality, which would be there. Like today, you would be hearing a lot of stories or the complaints which many commerce customers are putting on Twitter or some other social platforms that I bought a product, but the quality was not good. I bought the same product on another e-commerce platform, but it was good. Like again, the trust factor is there. The quality is something which everyone is aiming for. The third would be in the loyalty programs. Like again, today I'm talking about Amazon. If Amazon is having Amazon Prime and the person is a member of the Amazon Prime, he knows that I will be getting certain additional privileges and benefits when I shop from here. Then again, that will also put a lot of impact. So like again, as a brand, identify that what are some of the incentives which the your customer is driven by. And then at a timely basis, you need to put these nudges in place so that you are able to get the attention of your customer and you are able to convert that customer. But yeah, prima facie, I mean, if like model like this would definitely help any of the brand irrespective of the industry they operate in. Because like today when I'm talking about specifically from marketing point of view, so there are three important questions which every marketer wants to have an answer to. The first is whom to target, what to offer, and how to reach. So whom to target is definitely the complete segmentation which we're doing. What to offer is the offer optimization, what kind of nudges, what kind of incentives the person is looking forward to. The third is like today when we are living in a connected digital environment. So there, like what channel is being preferred by which customer? For someone, it might be email. For someone, it might be WhatsApp. For someone, it might be the social platform. So it's a kind of a multi-dimensional framework which every brand needs to work on to get more out of the effort that they're.
Super, super. Four box framework. I think four box framework is kind of equates to whom to target. Obviously, it helps you because you're collecting data and then learning more about the customer. Based on that, then you kind of do the segmentation. You kind of do the analysis and say what do I offer each of those customers, right? Based on their behavior.
That's correct. Yeah.
And how do I reach? How do I reach them? Super, right? And coming back to that point when you know we had the initial call, I told me you're working on digital transformation initiatives through the implementation of CRM and loyalty. I want to know more. So is this part of it? But what else does it constitute? And because digital transformation obviously is a large topic and it encompasses multifacets of the business, but specifically CRM and loyalty programs, how is it kind of feeding into both? Right?
So again, like as you said, the digital transformation is top of the town today. So I would say like in today's digital era where we are living in more like a kind of an experience economy environment, where consumers are dealing and engaging with multiple brands across varied industries at the same time. And customer behavior has changed so much and the expectations have changed so much that customers actually expect the same kind of experience irrespective of the industry they are dealing with. So today I would say like let's suppose I'm Apple iPhone or iPad user or a Netflix user would expect the same level of experience when they are buying pizza, when they are buying burger, or even if they are staying at the because I would say unlike what used to happen some 5 to 7 years back when it was a lot of dependency was on the brand. So today most of the customers want to do it themselves. So wherein like they want the control to be in their hand. So like when talking about today, again the industry specific numbers, we're talking about the contribution of the reservation which are coming from the brand website. So that is somehow somewhere in the range of 10 to 15% is there, which is again like taking into consideration the volume the customers are browsing the website. So the kind of experience they are looking forward to is couldn't do any digital app which they will be browsing for. Now, coming specifically to the loyalty and CRM, so loyalty and CRM are the two key aspects of the digital transformation, which actually enhance the customer experience, thereby increasing the retention also. Now, when I'm talking about telecom industry or maybe some other traditional brands or the industry which would be here. So unfortunately, I would say a lot of traditional brands have this issue and it is common across all these industries would be the empty databases, which would be there. That would be one. Second would be the non-unified brand experience. If the data part is not there, so like whenever there is customer is interacting with them. So every time that person is getting a different experience. So that's a non-unified brand experience, which would be there. Organizations are not having a single view of the customer, because of which they are doing a kind of a mass communication, which is non-personalized. There is no such tracking on the marketing campaign effectiveness, which is there. So here also, I will like, again, at this point of time, I might be able to reveal all the details, since it's, I would say, a bit confidential at the moment. But yeah, in a very generic environment, if I just have to speak about that, because like now I've been working on this for the last decade or so. I would say, again, to summarize, I believe like the brand needs to have a kind of a 4C framework to the CRM and loyalty. It's a very simplified version of what exactly is the expectation you have and how CRM and loyalty would be able to help you. So this 4C framework is capture, cluster, communicate, and control. So when I'm talking about the capture, so like, again, which all data sources are there, which you want to have for the data from, the standardization needs to be done, basis which you will be getting a kind of a unified view of the customer. Once you have captured the data, the second point is the cluster, wherein again you will be working on the segmentation basis, the RFM, which is recency, frequency, or a monetary value, or like, again, there has been a lot of dynamism in terms of how the segmentation has also changed. So like today, I would say most of the brands are operating on a kind of a segment of one, where they have moved away from the macro segmentation or the clustering. So basis multiple, I would say, variables, included variables, they are kind of having a micro level segmentation. So each customer is different, irrespective of whatever action they are taking. So that is the clustering which is there. The third part is the communication. So like, again, communication can be enabled through mapping the end-to-end customer journey by having the CLM, which is the customer lifecycle management, the drip campaigns, which can be used where the human intervention is almost zero. So technology would be able to enable it. And the last part is the control. So again, under the control, it would be the analytics, the reporting, the dashboarding, the KPI. It give you a clear perspective in terms of what it's like. You have captured the data, you have clustered that, then you are communicating, and then you are controlling whether it is working, not working. Because again, unlike the traditional setup, when I'm talking about the CRM loyalty, which is actually kind of working through the digital transformation to the campaign that not working, I don't have to wait for days, right? Within minutes or within hours, I will be able to change that. So like, I would do like for being all the transactional, all the traditional industries and the brands, the objective has to be that they need to get kind of a single view of the customer to identify the opportunities for relevant personalized communication, which would enable higher level of repeat, higher level of retention, thereby creating the brand loyalty.
Interesting. So but I think glad that you mentioned the posting network, and I kind of again captured. So a lot of, I think, very interesting insights coming out of this podcast. And I'm so glad, Nipit, I got you.
With pleasure.
And one of the questions I wanted to ask, and I think you answered part of it, is how is CRM and loyalty helping experience, right? I think you kind of touched upon it.
Indeed.
But is there anything, is our brands doing enough? And when I say brands, I say generically, it's not to any industry or anything, but generically, are brands doing enough?
Okay. So again, I will, should I be saying this or not? But like, again, there's a
Go ahead.
misconception, yeah, that there is a kind of a misconception that CRM and loyalty are different. Actually, it is not. So like, to me, I would say like both go hand in hand. Actually, loyalty programs per se, so these are one of the, I would say, important drivers and enabler for effective CRM platform. Well, today when I'm talking about the CRMs, like, again, it is I would say, a combination of 3 Ps, which is people, platform, and process. So that ultimately, like, again, technology would be helping you with giving you a platform which would kind of automate a lot of the things which you were doing manually. Then the processes which are there, you just need to kind of simplify the processes both for the employees also and for the customer also. And at the end of the day, this platform and the processes would be used by people. A lot of empowerment is something which needs to be given to the people so that the decision making is very, very fast. So again, it's a combination of these 3 Ps: people, platform, and processes, which is about the CRM. Also, like, again, when I'm talking about the CRM implementation, once that thing is done, so like the complete flow would be CRM would be enabling a good level of engagement, which would be increasing the loyalty. Now, this loyalty would be increased either by a loyalty program or through the tactical promotion which the brand would be. So
Right.
loyalty, in a way, is a kind of a subset of the CRM. And at the end of the day, like again, anything which is not having a kind of a proper measurement or proper expectation, so like you will not be able to get more out of that. So once the loyalty program is there that you need to kind of implement, you need to have certain, I would say, objectives. Like today, irrespective of which industry you work for. So I would say at a very broad level, so there would be multiple objectives which most of the loyalty program would be having. But broadly, I would say the objective which every loyalty program should have or is having is to drive the retention, increasing the share of wallet, and creating the brand ambassadors. In a nutshell, almost 95 to 97% of the efforts which you are putting in should be aiming towards these three things, which are driving the retention, increasing the share of wallet, and creating the brand advocates, which are there. We need to understand that loyalty would be addressing certain, I would say, business challenges which you will be having. First would be the new acquisition, which you will be getting through an attractive program construct, which you will be having. Second would be the referrals, because like once you are having loyal and satisfied consumers, they will be going out in the market, they will be becoming a brand ambassadors for your brand and bringing a lot of referrals. Second thing is like once these people start engaging with the brand more, so like you will be able to increase the share of wallet, thereby the increasing the CLTV, which is the customer lifetime. The third important would be that you would be also enjoying a higher level of retention, since you will be able to reduce the churn by providing what customers are looking for by understanding them.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and I think during the whole conversation, I think you kind of kept emphasizing on retention, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so very critical to do that because, and I'm going back to one of the podcasts that I did maybe a couple of years ago, where somebody said retention is the new acquisition, and I think he was
I
right.
totally agree. I directly agree with you. Because again, when I'm talking about loyalty also, like people do have this misconception that loyalty can be derived through loyalty programs. Unfortunately, is not the case. So like again, when you need to understand that again, like it takes ages to create loyalty, but overnight loyalty can be shattered by just one bad experience.
True, absolutely. Which actually brings me to that question. In fact, and you very well, you didn't specifically say retention new acquisition, but I think your entire emphasis on retention, I think, really meant that hey, what this is critical.
So just to add on what you said, I believe that the acquisition without the intention of retention, I think that is useless.
Oh, okay, got it. So when you focus on a very important point, CRM or loyalty, similar or different, right? So if for a brand, and again, I'm talking industry agnostic, what's the brand really start off first with? Right? Should it be CRM, or should they start with loyalty, or should start with CRM and then move into a loyalty or a rewards later on? What would you really suggest?
See, I believe like first and foremost is you need to have a mechanism in place wherein you get better understanding of your consumers. When I'm talking about better understanding of consumers, like again, it depends on how scalable your business is. Like again, getting to know the problems of your consumer and then working with multiple stakeholders to get a resolution to that plays a very important role. Like there are certain companies who are kind of, I'll just give you a very simple example. So like again, it's a kind of a legacy, these things, like all these people who like get the newspapers in the morning. So without maintaining any database, without any technology, so they are operating with a very high level of literacy in terms of who needs Times of India, who needs Insta Times, who needs Indian Express. I think the margin of error is quite low because they understand who their consumer. Today, when I'm talking about whether it is CRM or the loyalty campaign, like in certain level, just having the system in place, just having the program in place would not give a resolution to your problem unless and until you really want to get into this. So really core to that is that you just need to understand the psyche of your consumer, that who your consumer is, what they are looking forward to, and how you will be able to get in that. That would be the case. Also, we're talking about like again today, a lot of the people, and I just touched based upon that point, for also again loyalty program will not lead to high level of loyalty because you have to understand all these incentives and touches. So there are certain stages to loyalty. Like I believe there are three stages to effective loyalty. So starting with the transactional loyalty. So wherein like as and when the people would be getting some incentive, so they would be using these loyalty programs. So prime example to that would be to just go back 5 to 7 years back when the emergence of these, say the mobile wallets was there. We, PayTech app, be it the Phone Pay or the MobiQuick or the likes of that. They were just doing like for every transaction you were getting some gift. For every transaction you were getting the cash back. So like irrespective of whichever brand it was, whoever was giving the highest level of discount or the cash back, people were doing that. So that's a transactional loyalty. The second is the behavioral loyalty. So like soon we realized that these players have stopped giving the discount and all. But like again, our behavior was so changed. Like a typical example is that whenever you want to pay a utility bill, whether it's for the gas pipeline or for the electricity or for your phone, just by click of a button, you will be able to pay that. So that's a kind of a behavioral loyalty because they were able to shift the behavior mindset, which was the third is like actually it's a kind of a nirvana for every brand is the irrational loyalty, whether the discount is there or not, whether some other factors attached to that is being fulfilled or not. If you have a good experience with the brand, irrespective of all the problems or so, you will be engaging with them. That's the irrational loyalty which every brand should be.
Irrational loyalty. Very interesting. Very interesting way you kind of put that together, right? So transaction behavior and irrational loyalty.
Yeah.
So you spent a lot of time and have experience across different industries, different ecosystems, or different, so to say. So the question again is in two parts. What do you think the next few years holds for the industry? Yeah. And the second part of the question is, what suggestions or what recommendations would you have to share with brands who are here, which they can take off as learnings?
Okay. So again, it has been a kind of, as I told you, it has been kind of a good journey, a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of learnings also, and adoption of the technology and other aspects also, which is actually helping them kind of enhancing the customer experience and getting a seamless operational excellence, which is there. I mean, one of the thing which most of the brands need to understand is the kind of the anatomy of the loyalty program. As I said that today, every say 1 in 4 would be part of some or other loyalty program. As a responsible brand, you just need to understand the anatomy of the loyalty program, which is again divided into 3 parts, which is the goal, action, and reward. So brands just need to work on, of course, like what is the goal which they are operating this loyalty program. I want to have acquisition, I want to have retention, I want to increase the share of wallet, increase the customer lifetime value, optimize the cost. So this is the goal the loyalty program we have. Now, what is the action which requires to fulfill this? So action would be like again having a single view of the customer, providing a better seamless customer journey, which would be there, having a good level of segmentation wherein you are reaching out to the customer with a lot of relevance. That is the action which needs to be there. And on top of that, like when I just spoke about all these incentives and the nudges, so that is the reward. Like what is the best reward? Whether it's a kind of a value-driven reward or the perceived value reward, which is there. Like again, to differentiate between the two, if I just take example of the hospitality industry, so today if I'm saying always like if you stay in the next 90 days, I will be giving you a 20% off on the public rate which is there. So that is the value-driven reward which is there. Right. And it's like if you stay in the next 90 days, I'll give you a guaranteed upgrade to the next room category. That is more perceived. No particular value attached. So that's a perceived value, which is there. Then the overall experience with which the brand needs to do the value proposition, which is there. So it's again a kind of a multi-dimensional thing of goal, action, and reward, which brands need to keep in mind while creating the loyalty program. Because again, just by having the loyalty program, it doesn't give you a guarantee that people will be coming back to you unless and until you are having a very, I would say, solid value proposition.
Right. And I think that the next few years hold, what do you think, what suggestions you would have for brands possibly who are getting into it now? And like, what do they need to keep in mind for the next couple of years or so? Or what do they need to focus on?
So I believe again, it's a dynamic environment where we are operating in, but like certain things which are going to remain same, with just some enhancement is required. First and foremost is, I would say, like brand needs to invest in culture. But like, again, talking about any industry, ultimately people are the one who are giving the end by delivery for that thing. Like again, you have to invest in the culture. Second thing is that again, the complete transformation or the complete funnel which is there is happy employees lead to happy customers and happy customers lead to happy shareholders. Like unless and until your customers are not happy because your employees are your internal customers, so you need to take care of that by creating a culture privilege where they feel, I would say, someone who's been heard of and their opinion matters. That would be there. The most important part is that we don't like, fall in the trap of these buzzwords like AI, MI, and other things. Like just kind of do things with a lot of simplification. The focus, I would say, focus should be more on the loyalty rather than the loyalty program. Because like, again, having more and more people in your loyalty program is just a kind of a vanity metric. But are these people engaged with your brand? These people kind of having a good amount of business which they're giving to your brand. That matters a lot. Focus on loyalty rather than another thing would be, I would say, technology is more like a kind of enabler to deliver the seamless experience. At the end of the day, the proposition, customer experience matters. We should just focus on the kind of services and the products which you are able to give to your consumer. Because technology will just be a kind of an enabler to that. So I believe, yeah, these would be certain things based on my experience.
Right. So these are some of the things that you think brands should really focus on.
True.
Experience. Right. No, absolutely. I think the environment has become so dynamic that you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah, I think just one last point, something that you mentioned in the beginning, cost optimization.
Yeah.
Right. I think pre-pandemic, a lot of brands, I've been also on the other side, so we never really looked at cost optimization as a very serious. Just saying, okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a kind of approach. But I think it's become extremely relevant today. And not just relevant, I think it's being imposed on brands in terms of how to really work on this. And I guess a lot of what you said allows for this to happen if you're really streamlining your operations, especially from a marketing perspective. And if you're focusing on attention, you're focusing on wallet share.
Yeah.
You're focusing on relevancy of communication. You're focusing on the right channel to communicate to the customer with, right? I think hopefully all of this adds to the cost optimization bit, where I think the overall lifetime value of the customer and the profitability, I think, really increases.
Yeah, it would be there because, like, again, like the customers and their cost of acquisition is very invested in your own channels, like your brand website or the mobile app. Then the dependency which you are having on the aggregator, that would definitely go down. So your distribution cost is something that you control. Here are some of the examples, like again, the list would be endless, but yeah.
Ipit, thank you so much for taking the time. I think it's been an absolute masterclass today. Listening to you walk us through the key facets of CRM and loyalty and how all of this really are interconnected and help in improved customer experience.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for having me, and it was indeed a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely. And thanks so much for sharing some of the framework, putting it very simply, right? Like 4C, capture, cluster, communicate, and control. Or even if you want to look at a complete program, then how do you put it maybe in a different perspective via this 4-box framework?
True.
Yeah. I think excellent. I think so beautifully put. Thank you so much once again, and absolute pleasure.
Thanks, JP.
Thank you.